Today on the Topping Show, Matt Walsh trolls Kamala Harris, who claims she would be a real contender for the 2028 presidential election. Wall Street Apes post on U.S. healthcare costs inflating goes viral on social media. Ford confirms they're killing the Ford F-150 Lightning. And a kid's tablet gets recalled. All of that and much more on the Topping Show. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of the Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special preference for IT security. Heck, state founder released twice a day. Gotta say he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, see, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or business owner, reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, still giving away a free Flamethrower with every IT purchase with Picatinny rail adapter, so you can mount it to any standard AR-15 like all awesome accessories can be. Go to toppingtechnologies.com and click the Flamethrower button to learn more and see me shooting a Flamethrower. And lastly, trying to get 6,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you can click that button and tell your friends and your enemies, I would greatly appreciate it. Now going over to the business part of the podcast, you have Ford admitting defeat as they kill the F-150 Lightning, disappointing all 18 people who wanted one but didn't buy one yet. Now this brought to us thanks to Adam Eastmail at thedrive.com. And they say, quote, Ford F-150 Lightning's EV is dead. Next gen will have a gas engine backup. For all 20 people who want that. They say Ford has pulled the plug on his all-electric pickup truck, which that should have been a pun. I don't know if it was intended to be, but hopefully so. And will replace it with an extended range EV that takes gas. Admitting their product is trash and no one wants it. Here you can see a Ford F-150 Lightning in the middle of a forest going uphill with an ATV or a motorcycle in the back of the truck or the bed of the truck. I'll take things that have never happened for $500, Alec. Whatever Jeopardy game that is in reference to. Yeah, those things were garbage pavement queens used by people to go pick up their kids from soccer. They're never, it's the most pointless things ever invented, which is saying something. Again, credit to Adam Eastmail at thedrive.com. They say, quote, after what seems like a lengthy hiatus for the Ford F-150 Lightning, well, yeah, there's so little demand they actually shut down production. That's how little people wanted it. Now they say, quote, Dearborn's electric pickup may not be resuming production. The automaker confirmed that the all-electric truck will be discontinued. And while the next generation Lightning is in the works, it will be an extended range EV that takes gas rather than a fully electric battery electric vehicle. Which, again, they have to be only doing that for like tax incentives. There's some stupid reason they're making that because no one wants that. This is the same architecture. What is this? It's very similar to the Chevrolet Volt, which came out over a decade ago, which didn't really sell well. Guess made the government happy because it's more EVs or bastardized EVs. Now he says, quote, slotted at the end of the press release in which a Ford announcement the next gen Lightning, the automaker confirmed, quote, production of the current F-150 Lightning ends in 2025. Like the discontinued truck, the new one will be built at Ford's Rogue Electric Vehicle Center. It wasn't even 2 months ago, the company announced it was diverting resources in both the critical materials and manpower to crank out gas-powered F-150s instead of the Lightning. Because yes, the Lightning F-150 was trash, not just, the idea and execution of it, but it cost the company, again, an EV for Ford, cost them, as in they lose, $48,000 to $52,000 per unit. Now granted, that includes the factories, research development, all that crap cost. Now the F-150 gas-powered one, that's where they make money. The only reason Ford exists right now is because of their legacy products. They're trying to pivot and make other stuff. Obviously not working well. Now, they say, quote, still, it's a surprise to see the situation escalate so quickly from the hiatus to a full-on cancellation. No, it's not. They're losing 50 grand at every one of these stupid things. That's true for this year, for 2024, for 2023, 2022. For the past 5 years, they lost between $48,000 and $52,000 per EV sold. And they didn't sell a lot of them. Now, they say this is a surprise. No, it's not. They say that particularly because the Novalis, Ford's aluminum supplier, was forced to shut down activity after a fire at the New York plant, was supposed to come back online in December. In another release, the automaker reiterated its deployed Rogue employees to Dearborn truck plant to support a third crew of F-150 gas and hybrid truck production as a result of the fire. They say it was unceremonious after just a 3.5-year run for the truck. It's supposed to usher Ford and its loyal F-150 customers into a new age, which, yeah. Now again, say what you want about the Ford F-150ers when I hear it, Ford F-150, but the legacy products that have been around forever, aka the gas-powered ones, there's a lot of people that can fix them, especially because they break so often. This whole community of third-party support as well as materials and parts. They're not easy to maintain because they're always breaking, but there's a community out there, partially because it's less proprietary than an EV. An EV is a glorified throwaway smartphone on wheels, which is why China will eventually win, because they rip off tech better than anyone else and have no regulation, no regulation at all, hardly. Now, the F-150 Lightning, if you're one of the suckers who bought this abomination, how are you going to maintain this for beyond the factory warranty? What if you need a new battery in 10 years? What is that, 20, 30 grand plus? If you could find the damn thing. Well, if it's like an iPhone, in many cases, like with these EVs, if you try to buy a third-party product, like a battery or a main EV component, well, it won't work. It'll lock you out. Imagine buying this truck, and you want to have this last 20 to 30 years. Like, I would argue a good product would. A Toyota with a gas engine will. Good luck if you're one of the suckers who bought one of these 12 years from now. I mean, it's also an EV. I'm pretty sure it won't last that long. But yeah, in terms of maintaining that product, do you think Ford is going to give a shit? They lost so much money in every single one sold, and they're subcontracting a lot. Now, that's not, only Ford. A lot of companies do subcontracting when it comes to the materials and the components of the vehicle. But what if those companies go belly up? There's so much uncertainty, there's no profit. So these companies aren't going to maintain long term. So yeah, I think that's why not a single man who requires a truck for his job ever bought one of these abominations. They're mostly for soccer moms, I would argue, to go pick up the kids, playing those sports, maybe throwing some groceries in the back. Because Lord knows there's no business use case for towing these things. I mean, Tyler Hoover destroyed that myth years ago, showed how utterly useless it was in towing anything. Now, this is from Doug Shield, Ford's chief EV and digital design officer. Somehow he still has a job. And he says, quote, "The F-150 Lightning was a groundbreaking product that demonstrated an electric pickup can still be a great F-Series." No, it was trash for the consumers, the shareholders, and the employees. Again, if you're a Ford shareholder, these things lost you this year, or 2025, there's about $51,000 or $52,000 per EV sold. And again, Q3 in 2024, they spent $850 million on warranty work. And now, again, the warranties for these things won't last forever, obviously. But Ford, and to other manufacturers' credit, they have some warranties on some of the drivetrain, or in this case, the battery, for 5 to 10 years. Now, again, once you're after that time frame, you're screwed. But imagine if you got to replace all those batteries year 9 or 10. How much would that cost Ford? He's saying it's groundbreaking. Not really. You just took a Ford F-150 and bastardized it by putting EV parts inside. Say what you want about the competition, but Elon's was a ground up whole new thing. Now, granted, they're both not selling very well. I don't think an actual towing truck would ever really work with the current tech. Now, we might have magical new tech tomorrow. Can't really predict that. That's how technology works. But again, for right now, if you want a truck that actually works, I would argue a diesel one, do a def delete kit on it. So you could, how do I say this? Not legal advice, but yeah, get a good diesel truck, unbastardize it, which I think you can on your own land if it's used for a work truck. Of course, the military can do it. That's why they get the good vehicles, but rules for thee, not for me, type of thing. Now, again, he says it is groundbreaking. A demonstration it can be a great F-Series. Which apparently, I don't know if Doug Field is a comedian. He definitely should do stand-up. Again, a traditional F-150 gas-powered Ford, if I had to choose between that and this, obviously I would not choose this abomination. Now, he claims, quote, "Our next generation Lightning E-Rev is every bit revolutionary." No, it's not. General Motors did this a decade plus ago with the Chevrolet Volt, where they had the gas engine on there, but was only to act as a generator for the batteries. It's not that unique, Ford. You're not reinventing the wheel, pun moderately intended, because, you're in the auto industry. Now, he says, quote, he says, it's going to be revolutionary. He says it keeps everything customers love. 100% electric power delivery, a sub 5-second acceleration, and adds an estimated 700-mile range and tows like a locomotive. That range is only there because of gasoline, or as the foreigners call it, petrol. And he says it will be an incredible versatile tool delivered in a capital efficient way. Which, I don't suppose they could lose more money on these abominations. So suppose maybe they won't lose $52,000 per EV sold. Granted, this is, it's going to be EREV. But it's hilarious. Forrest Trend saying this is a good idea. They'll work now. Now, again, not everyone uses their truck as they're intended. A lot of them are pavement queens. They just go to the gala or the soccer practice, whatever. They might not tow. I would argue, in terms of commercial buyers or people who buy it for their, contracting business or construction job or what have you, a lot of those guys do actually load up the bed of the truck and do tow things. I think that's a big percentage of Ford F-150 buyers. In which case, this would be still trash. Still in EV, the batteries will have very bad range. The gas generator will help out a little bit, but it's still not going to solve the core issue, just basic physics, and not being a good product for that scenario. Again, the Chevy Volt worked okay enough. That was a small little commuter car, had a couple, 4 doors, 4 seats, little compact car. It didn't need to tow. Now, it did have Americans who sat inside of it. You could debate how much of that payload would be in terms of, well, is that legally towing because there's so much mass? But in all seriousness, that concept worked in that use case. For this one, I don't know if they're just trying to save face or stay in favor to the government who, again, the government's right now, the government is deregulating more of the auto industry, first time in a while. Granted, could be auto trends much longer than, politics, because, auto trends last, they're planning for years and years. Maybe they think there'll be even more regulation, so they'll need this. Again, Ford almost lost, $1.2 billion in fees during the Biden-Harris administration because they didn't have their fancy emission standards. They didn't have the arbitrary numbers for the tailpipe emissions as well as the fuel economy for the fleet averages, which are going to just be as arbitrary numbers. So to offset that, they make these terrible EVs, the abomination on wheels. So they're going to try to pivot this, but I still understand who is the buyer except like a soccer mom? I guess 2026. Soccer dad? Because again, it still doesn't fix the core concept of having an electric truck, which, again, if you're only going camping with the damn thing, then sure, a Rivian's a great product. That's a competitor. But in terms of going off-road like this, I don't see any F-150 Lightnings doing that anytime soon. I've seen them on the road in suburbs. But let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. I'm going to go over to the cultural part podcast. You have Matt Walsh roasting Kamala Harris, who claims she could be a real contender in the 2026 presidential election. Now, you also have Polymarket, one of those betting websites, saying she has a 5% chance of winning, which, the nomination, I think that's actually over-exaggerated, though, because, Kamala Harris. And Matt Walsh is responding to Colin Rugg. Now, Colin Rugg said, quote, former Vice President Kamala Harris is, quote, quote, stepping toward another run for president in 2028, according to Axios. Harris has just a 5% chance of becoming the Democrat nominee in 2028, according to Polymarket. Despite losing to Trump in 2024, Harris appears to think highly of herself, claiming that she was the most qualified candidate to ever run for president. Which is, again, is a comedic episode. She needs to go do some stand-up. Presumably, she can do that while she's being inebriated. So maybe that's not safe to do. But a lot of stand-up comedians drink on stage, so maybe she fit right in. Well, this is Kamala Harris.
That is a decent resume. But go ahead.
Well, some people have actually said I was the most qualified candidate ever to run for president.
What? How is she qualified? Sleeping her way to the top? I guess she has strong knees. That's good physical health, I suppose. Again, this is the person that was installed during the last presidential election. No one voted for her. The primaries, again, were rigged, like the Democrats did when the people voted for Bernie Sanders. They installed Hillary Clinton. Though, for the record, I should say, Hillary Clinton is a very beautiful, intelligent woman. She has not had a disproportionate amount of people around her commit suicide, 20 plus people. And I don't own any rope and plan to live a long, healthy lifestyle. Just want to coincidentally throw that out there. But yeah, Kamala Harris says she's most qualified. When she was running, she couldn't name a single accomplishment or policy. Yeah, that simp Mark Cuban flipping every day saying, oh yeah, Kamala's going to be great. It's okay if she has no policies on her website, even though it's been months. And then 2 weeks before the election, Mark Cuban was saying, oh, it's okay that now she has a couple policies. She just keeps flipping them. She can do that up to the day of election. And to this day, no one can tell me 3 solid reasons to vote for Kamala Harris. I should caveat. None of the reasons can be she's not Trump. Accomplishments or ideas that she has. Yeah, but she says she's the most qualified. I mean, she makes George W. Bush look like a genius, like Stephen Hawking in comparison.
I like the some people say. Very nice, but go ahead.
I'm just speaking fact.
Yeah.
Fact. Some people say, who? I mean, now again, even in the poly market, they have Gavin Newsom at 36%. Kamala Harris is at 5%. AOC is at 11%. Josh Shapiro is also at 5%. And she says, yeah. Some people say, really? Who? Your own staff didn't even like. I mean, apparently her own staff didn't even like her because she's a terrible, manipulative, coercive boss. Now, Matt Walsh responded saying, quote, oh no, I really hope she doesn't run again. Kamala Harris is incredibly formidable, a talented orator, charismatic personality, brilliant thinker, and a bold, fearless leader. It'd be really bad for us if she ran again. I have my fingers crossed that she'll decide against it. What a disaster it would be for Republicans. Which, again, that would actually, yeah. In terms of all the candidates they could prop up, yeah, there's a not 0% chance, but she's not going to get the nominee. Again, she blew it worse than any other candidate, and she only coincidentally won in states that did not check IDs. All the swing states, like all of them went for Trump. All the states that require a voter ID, yeah, they all went for Donald Trump. That's just coincidence, I'm sure. We definitely have safe, secure elections in the United States, of course. Even though places like California ban the practice of asking for an ID, that's not corrupt at all, California. I think one of the dumbest things she's ever said, which is saying something, is one of the interviews they asked, what would you do differently? You know, when you were in the office with Joe Biden, what have you done differently? She said, nothing. Which, again, there's a billion things she could have said better than that. Nearly infinite things she could have said. But she said, oh no, I do the same thing as Biden, which, again, no one, I mean, I can't name hardly anyone who would say Biden did great in nearly any metric and made any good decisions. Or more accurately, his handlers around him make good decisions. Now, it's got about 500,000 views and 15,000 likes. One of the first comments comes to us, thanks to the conservative alternative, says, quote, I would pay to see her debate JD Vance. In 298 likes. Miss B has a picture of, well, it's photoshopped, obviously, it's Joe Rogan and Kamala Harris. He goes, how does it feel to take a public beating like that? Getting 107 likes. First Words says, and if she does run, we must pray she doesn't, again, pick Walz as her running bait. Two of them would certainly crush us, getting 152 likes, which, yeah. Mike Sebastian says, no Republican would stand a chance against her force of nature, getting 58 likes. Mom of Data Republican says, I know if she runs, it wouldn't be a fair race. How can we possibly find a comparable candidate to oppose her? 144 likes. Let's see. There's any contrarian statements here. Daniel Hall has a picture of a broken car window and it says, quote, be careful out there, everyone. Be careful out there, everyone. I had 2 copies of Kamala's new book in my car and someone broke in and left 4 more. Getting 151 likes. Conservative AF has a picture of Kamala Harris that says, I'm burdened by what has gin, getting 72 likes, which, yeah, she certainly seemed to be inebriated most of her life. Dr. Gary says Kamala, it's her eating a word salad, getting 11 likes, which, yeah, she was mostly incoherent. Let's see here. Squid Overlord has a quote from Kamala Harris. It says, quote, you can get more done when you do more things. Getting 8 likes, which, yeah, she had a lot of quotes out there. And like a Joker laugh, too, did not help. Conservative AF says, I can hear this photo. It's a picture of Kamala laughing, which, yeah, gained 38 likes. Let's see. Joey FAFO says, the states that are in blue don't check ID. And it's, yeah, you see all the states where Kamala Harris won. California, or California as most people call it, Oregon, Washington, Colorado, New Mexico, Minnesota, or as most people call it, Little Somalia, Illinois, or as I pejoratively mispronounce it, Illinois, Virginia, New York, Vermont, Massachusetts, Maine, DC, yeah. I got 36, let's take 37 likes. Yeah, again, the states where they don't check ID, she did win. Scrolling down more and more. A lot of people saying she should pick out Tim Walz. Found his picture of a hyena, juxtaposition with the picture of Kamala Harris, though I can't tell which is which, getting 3 likes. Let's see. Sensible Texas says, correct, her recent summary of her dissertation on 3D chess strategy is a masterpiece. She says, quote, 3D chess is when there's a chess, but there's more 3Ds. There's more than 2Ds because 3 is bigger number. then 2. Basically, that's good. Getting third. 8 likes, which I'll never forget when she tried to describe the Russia-Ukraine war. She goes, Ukraine is a small country next to Russia, a bigger country. It's like, that is technically true. Let's see. Derek says, what really terrifies me if she chooses Tim Walz as a running mate again, he brought so much strength to the ticket. His reputation has only improved since the election. I'm afraid that another Harris-Walz ticket would be a blue landslide. Getting 7 likes. We also have the, I would argue, election interference when CNN, 60 Minutes edited the interview so she sounded more coherent. But this is the actual answer she gave versus what they doctored.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu,
Now, this is the edited version.
who is not listening.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
So I would argue that's clearly election interference. I mean, 60 Minutes made Kamala Harris sound coherent, which, I mean, obviously they should have been a big red flag because when has she ever sounded coherent before? That also got 14 likes. Mark Serbu says, but someone says she's the most qualified candidate ever to run for president. Don't we deserve that? Getting 15 likes. Joey says, I have a better chance of becoming the Pope. Trust me, it's not going to happen either. Getting 14 likes. Let's see here. Salty T says, if Kamala Harris is Democrats' ace card, Republicans should send a thank you card, getting 18 likes. And which, again, I mean, that's when you pick someone not based on qualifications. When he was more coherent, you had Biden saying he was going to pick a black woman. He didn't say he was going to pick the best of the best. He thereby disqualified more qualified. I mean, he got rid of a lot of the sample size and resumes of what could have been a contender, and he chose her. The ability to be one of the worst qualified candidates ever. Again, there's, I mean, one of those horrific, evil things about her in terms of hypocrisy. I mean, she was on a podcast where, again, she bragged about putting parents in jail if the kids skip school for truancy. And she also bragged about putting a lot of people in jail for marijuana in California. And then when she went on a podcast, they talked about Mary Jane, the devil's lettuce, I believe they call it. And then they asked her, she goes, oh yeah, I don't know. I was doing it. And she laughed like a hyena. So while she was inebriated on weed, she was putting people in jail for weed. Again, maybe she's lying to look cool on a podcast. I don't know. It sounds like someone should investigate that. I mean, she's not a good person or intelligent. Now, maybe they liked her. I mean, really, they just kept her on the ticket because there's a theory that, well, people donating all this money to Biden Harris, the Biden Harris campaign, he's not there. What can we do with that money legally? Does it have to be a part of her? And even now, no one really knows because I don't think it's ever happened in terms of people gave money to Biden Harris. He was no longer on the ticket. She chose Tim Walz. Should they get to keep that money? Now, if they chose a different candidate completely, I think more people would have said, hey, they're not even on the ticket. You got to give that money back. And again, they spent over $1 billion and still lost. And she pulled out all the tricks and ponies. She hired all the dumb bimbo musicians like Beyonce, having them twerk for her, paying them millions upon millions upon millions of dollars for all those influencers and celebrities to say, vote for Kamala Harris. They even dragged out Barack Obama. He couldn't get people excited to vote for her. They did everything they could, and she didn't win a single swing state or state that checks IDs. So again, I actually hope they do choose her, but again, they're not going to. You see, Gavin Newsom is already much more nuanced with some of his positions. His track record is still abhorrent, obviously. And I think he will probably be the most likely contender. But let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the political part podcast, you have Wall Street Apes posting the cost of insurance going up in the United States for this year. Now, he says, quote, American shows his 2028 health insurance family plan will cost. The Bronze Saver Plus plan is $2,094.15. That's per month. That's $27,229 per year with a $13,000 deductible, $20,300 maximum out of pocket. No one can afford this. Barack Obama destroyed our healthcare with the Affordable Care Act. Yeah, that's true. There's a screenshot or a little video of it, which basically $2,100 per month. So you can pay for people who do not have, so you can pay for someone who doesn't work to get healthcare. So you can pay for the older people who cost a lot more. Because again, one of the biggest things about the Affordable Health Care Act, also known as Obamacare, was they couldn't charge someone more if they're unhealthy or they're elderly, which on average, people get older, there's more health issues, which logically speaking, their costs should be increased. So, I mean, you have more and more young people becoming more irate at the system. This is one of those contributing factors. The average, I mean, also the average home buyers in their 50s now, buying up more 2 or 3 houses now, while you can't even afford a single house. And your cost is that high in part to pay for them, which is ridiculous.
Look at this. Somebody come look at this. Look at this. Somebody come and look at this. Look at this.
What a scam. Yeah. Remember all the lies with the Obamacare? Said, oh yeah, you'll get to keep your doctor. Oh yeah, you'll get to keep your doctor. Your costs will not go up. Spoiler alert, costs went up through the stratosphere, and you did not get to keep your doctor. My theory is that Obamacare was directly, it was just Marxist crap to force everyone to eventually become dependent on the government because it drives up the private healthcare so absorbently. So you'll have no choice in the future. My theory is that it was designed to destroy the healthcare industry so it become a government entity, like all the Marxist nations, all the communist nations that all the Democrats love so much. I mean, it's gotten so unaffordable. I know a lot of people who are relatively successful. They got software engineering jobs, they got leadership positions. They're dropping their healthcare insurance because they can't freaking afford it. That's disgusting. That's ridiculous. People working full time in a mid to high level job can't afford health insurance because it's so expensive. It's not sustainable, obviously. But we have to keep working hard for people who don't work at all, get free health insurance. They'll get free healthcare. And again, I think there are some people who do need some help in the world. There are a lot of scammers in the United States as well. A lot of people bumming off the system, not working at all, who are able-bodied. One of the few things I like about recent government in terms of Trump, they're putting some requirements in for food stamps, EBT, and healthcare. You have to actually work a little bit if you are able-bodied. So again, if it's up to me, I got to a point where I'm so fed up with government handouts, I would get rid of all of them, decrease the taxes, so you get to keep more money in your pocket, and then let you decide what local church, nonprofit, or local non-government entity you can support, and they can help people infinitely more than the fat, over-bloated government entity that is our U.S. government right now. I think that's one of the reasons this went so viral. I got 2.6 million views and 25,000 likes because everyone's seeing the healthcare costs go through the stratosphere. It's bullcrap. It's ridiculous. It's not the free market. The U.S. has the worst of both worlds, where they have the government way too much interference and the private sector trying to make a profit, which is getting more and more difficult. As much as people hate the United Healthcare so much, they vilify their CEO and actually the disgusting monsters that people celebrating his assassination. Their profit was about, 2.96%? It's an instance where there's a lot of cost when it comes to healthcare. Also, doctors, their insurance costs like 6 figures. Like, there's so much fat that you could trim away, and yet at the same time, there's a lot of cost as well. And Lord knows hospitals are also not very transparent. I think it should be like McDonald's. You walked up to a hospital, you should be able to tell you, hey, here's a menu of procedures. It's going to cost about this much. Might be a 5 or 6% variation if there's a complication, something like that. Now again, there's some nuances with certain procedures, but there are some that are relatively straightforward. You shouldn't have to go on a scavenger hunt and call all these folks and try to get to the bottom line and be like, what's the actual cost? And you should not be punished if you want to pay cash. If anything, it should be an incentive, I would argue, which some hospitals, not all of them, do have that as an option. Now, one of the first comments comes to us thanks to Sashich Fras Eternia saying, quote, Obamacare operates as a calculated wealth transfer from the productive middle class to the dependency class. That $27,000 premium represents a penalty for your employment. They engineered that cost crisis to break private ownership of your health and force reliance upon the state. You are paying a mortgage for a deductible that ensures bankruptcy before coverage kicks in. This is not the failure of policy, it's a successful implementation of economic serfdom. Getting 785 likes. Yep. Let's see. The Green Dragon Tavern says, imagine saying Obama destroyed it when Republicans were unable to come up with a replacement or alternative for the last 50 years. It's not been 50 years, though. Got 1.5 thousand likes. Now, again, one of the reasons I have a great disdain for Democrats, as well as a lot of Republicans, pejoratively known as rhinos or Republicans in name only, yeah, Republicans could have absolutely overturned and got rid of Obamacare. They got the tax penalty down to a $0 amount in terms of you can choose not to buy it. Another bullshit thing. They said, oh, you have to buy this or else we're going to punish you. We're going to force you to buy this. But again, not financial or not advice, but my opinion, not everyone needs healthcare, especially if you're a young 18-year-old. It's one of those things where, on average, you'll be just fine. So again, don't take my advice. It's ridiculous. You're forced to buy it. Now, yeah, Republicans, they had the House, the White House, and Senate multiple times in my lifetime. They had the votes. They could have overturned it. But they didn't because they said they needed something to campaign on. I think that was leaked. Who was that who leaked it? But yeah, they admitted, oh yeah, we need something to campaign on. Democrats do the same damn thing as well. And that's why they don't solve some of their problems or solve some of the things that their constituents want them to solve. Because politicians always seem to justify their job and pretend like they're doing something and raise campaign funds on some controversial issue, which, I mean, throughout my lifetime, we got, same 5 to 6 core issues that keep coming up in politics. People donate more money, and, maybe the Republicans gain a little bit, then Democrats gain a little bit more, and everyone, quote unquote, wins a little bit. At the end of the day, those polarizing topics are still there, and I don't think there will be any major conclusion, because, again, they use it to raise campaign funds. Yeah, so Republicans, yeah, I'm annoyed that it's bullshit they didn't repeal it. They should have. They could have, I believe, was it 2016? There's a couple of years where they had the votes, and they didn't do it, which is ridiculous. Someone by the name of Fix California has, it's going to be embarrassing, I forget is it Boromir from Lord of the Rings? And he says, quote, when you spend $27,000 a year on affordable health care, but still can't afford to get sick, gain 356 likes. Dr. Finn Federa says Obama and Nancy Pelosi destroyed our quality of healthcare. Now it's expensive trash. Yeah, I'll never forget Nancy Pelosi, the greatest stock trader of all time, obviously corrupt. She said, we have to pass it so we could read what's inside it. She should have been fired that day. That's the dumbest statement I ever heard. We have to pass the bill so we could read it. What? Admitting you didn't do your job, which, again, a lot of politicians don't read the crap before they vote on it. Another issue, they have too much, they need to greatly decrease how much stuff they're trying to pass as well. And here you can see infographic from, I cannot see that website, but it says almost entire Obamacare premium increase paid for taxpayer. Yeah, and it increases exponentially throughout after 2013, which, yeah, Jesus, so much theft. And 238 likes. Stocking Cheddar says, quote, if you go to the hospital and tell them you're illegal, it's free, getting 64 likes. Yeah, that's bullshit. That's one of the reasons, kind of like retail, one of the reasons products cost a lot more than they have lately is because there's a lot of retail theft. Hospitals are the same thing. There's a lot of people that default on the medical bills. There are a lot of hospitals where, yeah, if you don't have an ID, they will treat you. And yeah, that cost is going to go somewhere. They still have to pay for their insurance. They have to pay for their doctors, their materials. One of the reasons when people look at their bill and go, well, what was it? One of my friends had a kid at a hospital, like 30 grand without insurance. It's ridiculous. Like the diapers are $300. They didn't actually cost the hospital that. It's a markup to offset some of the other losses. Carolyn Levitt says, can we just agree that insurance is a total scam? End Obamacare getting 127 likes. Which, again, not all of it is a scam. I mean, I'm not going to win any political points standing up for insurance companies. Lord knows most people don't like them. But I understand the concept. I think the issue right now is the deductibles are so high and the cost is so high. Well, more and more people can't afford it, which again, it forces them to go to the government or have nothing at all. But yeah, in terms of if health insurance is, $20, $30 a month, I think their average person would pay for it. Also, if they actually gave you the service and deny. Again, I think most people are comfortable with the concept of insurance, but a lot of people have a frustration and disdain for it because they don't pay out, they're too expensive, and too complex. I mean, Lord knows, just to find a doctor, quote, unquote, in your network is a pain. You also have Gold Pony Crypto say, quote, these numbers are unfortunately true if you are self-employed, getting 66 likes. Yep. Max Brown says that's exactly how millions have felt since Obamacare passed. Many have faced premiums and deductions for years. Now it's becoming painfully obvious for others too. Just do tonsil removal 1 year. We had what? He said just to do a tonsil removal 1 year, we had out-of-pocket expenses exceeding $32,000 after premiums and deductions were paid. That was 9 years ago. I have not worked. It has not worked, and it has never been sustainable. 32 grand. Not to be smartass or unemotional. However, isn't a scalpel like $9? 13 if you get a really sharp scalpel, maybe. A tonsil? What? 32 grand? I mean, Jesus, that's a car or more than a year of a mortgage. And again, that's mostly to pay for people who don't have insurance. Which again, I know there are some people who, because of illnesses, diseases, or veterans, they do not have the capacity where they could work, and they do need some help. And I think they should get help. I think my local church, nonprofit, someone else should be able to do it, and they'll do it more effectively than the government. I mean, shoot, the SNAP crisis alone showed how many people, how much corruption was in that category of government handouts alone. I think more people are becoming fed up with it and starting to realize, what if we just helped our neighbors ourselves? I would argue it would be, yes, actually, again, not a very original idea, but if we just got rid of all these taxes completely and all these government handouts completely, it would be more efficient to just have a GoFundMe when you're sick and your friends and neighbors might help you out. I mean, at the end of the day, I think that would be more fiscally efficient than the crap we have now. Oh, let's see here. I'm trying to see if there's any contrarian statements. There's only been that one. And life gets a little bit boring for Echo Chamber. Now, this is good marketing. Crowd Health says, Crowd Health is max $660 per month for a family of 4 without the huge deductible. Gained 96 likes. Now, that's good advertising. Let's see here. It says, some people are comparing it to, let's see, comparing them to rates overseas. Or else says doctors are willing to take less if you pay them directly so they don't have to fight with health insurance plans. Our platform enables that, gain 12 likes, which, yeah, that's one of the biggest issues. And actually, like when you call a doctor and you want to ask them how much something is, they'll go, well, I don't really know. Partially because, yeah, they got to negotiate with the insurance company. One of the reasons insurance is healthcare is so expensive is because of those negotiations and insurance companies trying to justify their existence. In many cases, let's say you needed a box of gauze to absorb, blood or fluids, whatever. Well, it might cost the hospital $10. Let's say they mark it up to $20, so, helps for their administration fees, which, well, Lord knows they have too many gals working in reception at these hospitals. They need to fire some of those gals. Ironically, they are not healthy either, on average. But it's an instance where, well, the insurance company on the bill, they'll say it was, it was actually, what was it? Come on, doctor. I got to show my end user, my customer, that I'm saving the money. $20. What if it's $500? But I got you down to $300. Everyone goes, doctor goes, sure, we're actually going to make more. And then the insurance company can go tell you, like, hey, I know that box of gauze. They wanted these guys over here, this hospital, those greedy guys, they wanted $500 for that, but I hooked you up. I got it for $300. I helped you out. Don't you feel happy paying that premium to me every month? We helped. Again, not all of them are that evil, manipulative. However, that is a thing. Going back to the main comment section, historically centrist says, quote, honestly, better worth saving all of your money, take the huge risks by eliminating some behaviors, minimizing driving during rush hour, etc. Invest the savings, unless nearly $300K every decade if invested, gain 40 likes, which, not financial advice, but yeah, investments do compound dramatically over the long term. And in terms of him talking about rush hour, again, not advice, there are some other policies that have health coverage built in. There's a lot of variables, a lot of offerings out there, but I do know some of them will cover some costs. Let's see here. Not too many other contrarian statements here. Night Fox says, this is exactly what I pay for insurance yearly, 22 likes. That's criminal. A mortgage payment or a car for insurance. God, that's terrible. And ironically named the Affordable Health Care Act. Yeah, that's ironic. Kind of like the Patriot Act, the most unpatriotic act of all history, I would argue. But people passed it on the left and the right, saying, oh, it would be good for our country to spy on our citizens and destroy our rights. Let's see here. Let's see. Yahoo McDaniel says, we passed the act without a single Republican vote, then voted for the subsidies to expire in 2025 without a single Republican vote. What's Republicans' fault? Gained 5 likes. That's true, but again, Republicans had the House, the Senate, and the White House multiple times. They could have overturned it. They could have brought it up to the vote. They had the votes, could have done it. They didn't. You could argue because they're lazy, inept, corrupt, what have you. But again, some of them said, oh yeah, we have to keep that so we have something to campaign on next time around. Like, we couldn't get it done. We couldn't get that done now, but we'll get that next time. Kind of like for gun rights. Republicans say they're very pro-gun. And yet, the NFA Act of 1934 has been around for nearly 100 years of tyranny. Now, thanks to the big beautiful bill, changing the tax from a $200 tax stamp per item to $0 tax stamp per item, you could argue that the groundwork has been laid and the lawsuits actually have been filed. They can repeal that act because now is no longer a tax, which is how it was legally passed to begin with. But again, they had the White House. I mean, for the past almost 100 years, they've had the House, the White House, and Senate multiple times. They had, sometimes even had a supermajority. But they never tried to repeal, again, the NFA Act, or the National Firearms Act of 1934. Something I find especially egregious because, I'm an American and infringes on my rights. Run down more and more. Thread of the Grill also says, "We just all agree that insurance is a total scam." Game 1,000 likes. Truth Win says, "Democrats forced through Obamacare when 70% like their insurance. No Republican votes. They swore it'd pay for itself. Now it costs $500 billion. They broke it and left taxpayers leaving the bag. They're liars and thieves." Getting 113. Yep, so 114 likes. Let's see here. Jeff Job compares the United States to Israel. As a kid in the United States, says student loan with the most expensive healthcare, 575,000 homeless, highest rates of depression worldwide. It says Israel, free education, free healthcare, 250 homeless, sixth happiest nation. They got 231 likes. Which ironically, they had a picture of a white guy on the left. Should have been a liberal white woman because they have the highest rates of depression and the highest consumption of pharmaceuticals and SSRIs. And they're mostly miserable with a stupid cow ring. Coincidence? I don't think so. But let me know your thoughts because, as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the business blunder of the day of kids' tablet being recalled because, whoops, the battery might just fall out. Now, this brought to us thanks to United States Consumer Product Safety Commission, perhaps the only useful government website, though, pretty low bar. They say, quote, "Katibo writing tablet recalls due to serious risk of injury or death from battery ingestion. It violates the mandatory standard for toys sold at Amazon by Katibo. Yet another reason, just give the kid a damn book. They'll read, they'll learn a little bit more, a lot more. Their mind won't be broken with Lord knows what's on a tablet these days." Now, they say, quote, "The recalled toys violate the mandatory standard for toys because the screw used to secure the battery compartment that contains a battery cell battery does not remain attached as required. When the button cell or coin batteries are swallowed, the ingestion batteries can cause serious injury, internal chemical burns, and death. Affecting 10,380 units. There's quite a few to say at least. Jeez. Looks like they had a fancy 10-inch screen. They say consumers should immediately stop using the recalled tablet toys and contact Katibo for a free replacement set of tablet toys. Consumers should write recalled on the back of both the tablet toys that came in a set. Take a photo with the marked tablet toys. Submit the photos to writing/tablet/recall at ktebo.com with recall proof and their name as a subject line." Now, thankfully, the guy had the situation. No incidents have been reported of any kids getting hurt, injured, or passed away because of it. And, I mean, one of those things where I do wonder, how many of these actually, again, these regulations come for a reason. Obviously, a kid in the past probably, perished because the battery was too loose. I can't help but think, so many recalls in 2025, now going to 2026, with these batteries coming loose. I mean, at this point, it's basically a disposable toy to begin with. Just super glue that battery in there. I can't help but wonder, especially with kids throwing things away or getting tired of toys so quickly, I can't imagine they'd actually want this toy past the battery lifeline, maybe. And especially for this toy, the price point was negligible, or you could debate disposable. They say these are sold at Amazon.com from September 2025 through October 2025 between $8 and $30 a pop. The retailer, which I won't purposely try to butcher the name, though I probably shall, is Banghe Gungsan International Trade Company, doing business as Katibo of China, which that's not any better. I mean, Banghe, the name is called Banghe, Banghe, Gungsan, Guangzhou, International Trade Company. Usually when you do DBA or doing business as, you make the name a little bit easier. The name is Katebo, which, granted, how much ground to stand on. My name is Topping, so understandably, perhaps pot calling the kettle black. But again, especially with the United States, with all the regulations you have for toys and kids being more vulnerable, gotta be especially careful. But I gotta say, Katibo, you are certainly the business blunder of the day. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. Again, trying to get 6,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so click that button, greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, and a comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how to make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, anyone, everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.